Hello and welcome to my next video. This is part of the series looking at PvP builds in Guild Wars 2 for 2015. This next video is not going to be one of my strongest videos. This is my Mesmer build. I've got a couple of different Mesmer builds available. This is going to look at sort of a Shatter type build. It's been partially successful, but I'll put a disclaimer that I'm not actually the greatest Mesmer out there. I find the two hardest classes personally are Mesmer and Thief. But let's talk about the Mesmer here. So the Mesmer, first off we'll talk about the weapons that I've got. I go with Greatsword and then Sword focus, pretty much just the focus for the swiftness boost. And the Greatsword because of the significant damage and the phantasms that it can you can spawn with it. So let's have a look at the build we've got. We've got 64400, and for the we're a quite substantial power build. So if we go into the trait lines, we start off with empowered illusions, the fact that they deal more damage. This is all about obviously creating a lot of clones. I have to admit, I don't feel that it creates that amount of this build does create a significant amount of clones, because you are trying to destroy and shatter a lot of clones. So if we look here, you can create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clones that you can create. Obviously, they're the ones that you're going to be keeping destroying. So you want to keep creating. This build, being able to dodge actually creates a clone as well, so that's another reason this build is quite successful, because you're creating a lot of clones that you can shatter and cause significant damage. So we've got empowering illusions that they can deal with a little bit more damage. That is crucial for the Berserker, the Phantasmal Berserker, which causes a significant amount of damage on this build. Crippling Dissipation, remember this is a Shatter build, so we want to try and inflict a lot of conditions. Rending Shatter can also be taken instead. It depends if you want to control the opponent. Crippling Dissipation is pretty good. If you are, Rending Shatter is also another popular choice. But I've actually gone for 2 in the first trait line, because the second trait line, if we look here, I've actually got Greatsword training in the the final trait line, because I didn't feel that the confounding suggestions. I don't feel I use stun enough on this build. I don't have any mantras really, and I don't think that power block. I don't think I interrupt too much. I don't think those 3 are that significant. Greatsword just gives me that extra power boost. Shattering, I don't really remove boons. I'm not really that sort of. If I was coming up against a Guardian, I might put in Shattered Concentration, but I like the extra power boost. And it also reduces recharge on this. So if you look there, it's actually 16 seconds to recharge the Phantasmal Berserker. So that's pretty much the build there we've got for the power section. We go into the dueling. So one of the other things, the extra traits that you get: inflict vulnerability when you interrupt a foe. Dazing a foe also applies vulnerability, and increased damage to foes who are not using a skill. So we go into the precision, sort of the dueling trait line. We get Vigor when delivering a critical hit. Your Phantasms has Fury. The reason being, again, it's this one here. The ability to critical damage would be a significant boost for the Phantasmal Berserker. And that's pretty much it. There's not really anything else that I'd want to take in this trait line. That's pretty much it. There's nothing else really to say. Illusions inflict bleeding on critical hits, so if your Phantasm can do a critical, it can inflict a lot of bleeding damage. This is the one that I quite like, the Deceptive Evasion. If you dodge, you do create a clone that you can then use to shatter. So you're just trying to increase the number of clones that you actually have in this build. There's nothing else that I really want to take in this sort of trait line. And then we go to the final, the Chaos trait line. We get regeneration when your health drops below 75%. Clones apply a random condition to nearby enemies when they're killed. So if this is a Shatter type build, so you're trying to increase, cause a lot of damage by shattering your clones, and this tends to work particularly well. Is there anything else that I want to take? reduce damage for each illusion you have in the world, but you're constantly shattering them, and applying random conditions more significant, and gain protection when you regain regeneration. So when I drop below 75% health, I get regeneration and protection. And then Mirror of Anguish, I did actually have a staff instead of I can sometimes take a staff instead of sword focus, and in which case I would swap to chaotic dampening. However, I like Mirror of Anguish because basically, if you're up against a warrior, for example, a hammer warrior, or a hammer guardian, or a necromancer, whenever they cause stun, daze, even the engineers, the knockbacks, you can Mirror of Anguish will do the same to them. So I find that particularly interesting, sort of little counter there. Again, there's nothing else I'd really take. If we go into the build, the Greatsword has a Signet of Energy, so obviously when I'm trying to weapon swap, I get 50% of my endurance back. It's crucial for if you're dodging around a lot to try and create the clones, then you need a little bit of extra endurance, and obviously Sigil of Fire to create a Flame Blast. It's a pretty standard sigil there. Signet of Accuracy on the sword, and again Sigil of Fire on the focus. And that's pretty much, the Sigil of Fire is pretty useful for a lot of things. We got Rune of the Eagle, Precision, Ferocity, and +6 damage against targets with less than 50% health. So again, a pretty decent rune set to go with. And the Soldier Amulet, so PTV, pretty standard, nothing special there. This, I have to say, it is a difficult. I find Mesmer very, very difficult to use the way the Mesmer works, the whole concept of the Mesmer. I find it extremely difficult. I've played all the classes, many different variations of the class, and the Mesmer I always find the hardest one to actually sort of figure out if it's going to be, how to play it. There are when I've been playing PvP and I've come up against the Mesmer, there are a lot of Mesmers that will create a lot of clones and will dodge around and are hard to hit, but they will obviously give up the point, and you can cap the point or decap the point, and that's not my game style. My game style is to try and hold the point for as long as possible, and see how it is, rather than, okay, I've got the point and then I run away, or I have to give up the point to take out an opponent. And this build is a little bit like that, but yeah. I'm going to have some footage in the background of me playing on this Mesmer. I do have, another Mesmer build that I'm going to put up a little bit later, but I hope this is some sort of style. If anyone's got any suggestions for Mesmer, because as I said, I'm championing Mesmer. I've done every profession, but I've found Mesmer the hardest. If you look at my PvP stats, let's have a look at my stats. And sorry, here we go. So Mesmer games are 449 games, okay, which is actually a lot more. If you look at how many games we played, 13%, which is actually it's the second most amount of games I've actually played, and that's on the Mesmer. Okay, so 449, but I've only won 202, and that's one of the least amounts. I found Mesmer the hardest to actually master, and I have full respect for the Mesmer people that can master Mesmers. I find it's very unique gameplay. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. If you've got any comments, I really appreciate them. Thanks very much, and I'll catch you on the next video.
Your enemy has the temple now. Ferocity has appeared. You control the gate.
Accelerating.
Control the gate!
My mobility is impaired. Need help here.
Your enemy seized the altar! Stillness has appeared!
Never felt better.
Ferocity has appeared! You've captured the altar! Strong. You control the gate! You've got the temple!
Join me. My mobility is impaired. Accelerating.
You control the gate! Your enemy has the temple now. Tranquility has appeared. You have all 3 points. Hold them at all costs. Your team is victorious.